If you manage multiple online accounts, you already know the problem. Different logins, different clients, different platforms, different devices, and one small mistake can create a lot of chaos. This is where XPower comes in. XPower is an anti-detect browser built for professional multi-account management. Instead of mixing everything inside one regular browser, XPower lets you create separate browser profiles for every account, client, project, or workflow. Each profile can have its own cookies, proxy settings, browser fingerprint, operating system, user agent, and workspace. So your accounts stay organized, your team works more safely, and your daily routine becomes much easier to control. For agencies, affiliate teams, social media managers, e-commerce sellers, and growth teams, this can save a huge amount of time. Imagine you are managing accounts for different clients. Normally, you would need to constantly switch browsers, clear cookies, use different devices, or worry about mixing sessions. With XPower, every account can live inside its own isolated profile. You open the profile, do the work, close it, and move to the next one. Simple. But XPower is not only about profiles. It also gives you tools for automation. You can use RPA, API integrations, and the synchronizer to repeat actions across multiple browser profiles and speed up routine tasks. This is useful when you need to manage many similar workflows without doing everything manually again and again. For teams, XPower also makes collaboration easier. You can share profiles, assign roles, organize accounts by groups and tags, and control access inside your team. That means your employees or partners can work with the accounts they need without exposing everything at once. Another important part is browser fingerprint management. XPower allows you to configure many fingerprint parameters, so each browser profile looks like a separate environment. This helps teams keep their workflows cleaner, more consistent, and more professional. And if you work with mobile environments, XPower is also developing more realistic mobile fingerprint options, including support for gyroscope fingerprints for mobile profiles. So whether you work with social media, advertising, e-commerce, web testing, or client account management, XPower gives you one central place to organize your browser operations. The main idea is simple. More accounts, less chaos, better structure, more control. Instead of trying to manage everything manually, you build a clean system. Every account has its own profile. Every profile has its own environment. Every team member has the right access, and every workflow becomes easier to scale. If your business depends on managing multiple accounts, XPower is a tool worth testing. Create your profiles, set up your workflow, connect your team, and manage your accounts in a smarter way with XPower. GPT-5.5 is here, and this is not just another small ChatGPT update. This is one of the most important AI upgrades for people who actually work with AI every day. Creators, developers, marketers, entrepreneurs, students, analysts, and anyone who uses ChatGPT not just for fun, but for real tasks. So in this video, let's break down what GPT-5.5 actually is, what makes it different, what its biggest advantages are, and why this model feels less like a chatbot and more like a real AI work partner. First, let's keep it simple. GPT-5.5 is OpenAI's newer generation model designed for more complex work. Not only simple questions, not only writing short texts, not only generating ideas. It is built for tasks like coding, research, data analysis, working with documents, understanding long context, using tools, and helping you move from an idea to an actual result. And that is the main difference. Older AI models were often good at answering questions, but GPT-5.5 is more useful when you give it a real task. For example, instead of asking, "Write me a paragraph," you can ask, "Analyze this project, find the weak points, suggest improvements, write an action plan, and explain what I should do first." That is where GPT-5.5 becomes much more interesting. The first big advantage is understanding context. GPT-5.5 is better at understanding what you actually want, even if your prompt is not perfect. And this is very important, because in real life we do not always write perfect prompts. Sometimes we just explain the problem in a messy way. For example, "I want to launch a new AI product. Help me understand what to do." A basic AI model might give you generic advice. Create a website, run ads, post on social media, and test your audience. But a stronger model should think deeper. It should understand that you need positioning, audience research, offer structure, content ideas, sales channels, budget planning, and a clear launch strategy. That is the real value of GPT 5.5. It is not only answering, it is helping you think through the problem. The second big advantage is coding, and this is probably one of the most important areas where GPT 5.5 becomes powerful. Today, AI coding is not just about asking ChatGPT to write a small piece of code. That was impressive a few years ago, but now the real question is different. Can AI understand the project? Can it find bugs? Can it explain what is broken? Can it improve the architecture? Can it help write tests? Can it work with complex files and logic? GPT 5.5 is much stronger for these types of tasks. For developers, it can act like a coding partner. For beginners, it can explain code step by step. For founders, it can help build prototypes faster. And for teams, it can reduce the time spent on debugging, documentation, and repetitive technical work. But there is an important point. GPT 5.5 does not mean you should blindly trust AI with production code. If your project includes payments, databases, user data, email sending, security, or business-critical logic, you still need human review. The best way to use GPT 5.5 is not as a replacement for thinking. It is as a very strong assistant that helps you move faster. The third advantage is research and analysis. This is where GPT 5.5 becomes useful for business, education, content creation, and decision making. Let's say you need to compare several tools, analyze a market, summarize a long document, create a report, or understand a complicated topic. Instead of spending hours reading everything manually, you can ask GPT 5.5 to structure the information, find the key points, compare options, and explain the conclusion in a simple way. For creators, this means faster video research. For marketers, this means better audience analysis. For entrepreneurs, this means faster business planning. And for professionals, this means less time wasted on organizing information. The fourth advantage is working with documents and long tasks. This is a huge one. Many people do not need AI only for short answers. They need AI to work with real documents. Briefs, contracts, reports, spreadsheets, presentations, emails, scripts, and business plans. GPT 5.5 is designed to be more useful in these document-heavy tasks. You can ask it to review a document, improve the structure, find contradictions, summarize the key points, rewrite it for a different audience, or turn it into a presentation outline. For example, you can upload a long business document and ask, give me the main risks, the strongest opportunities, the missing information, and the next steps. That is much more useful than a simple summary. Because in real work, we do not just need shorter text. We need decisions, we need structure, we need clarity. The fifth advantage is tool use and agent-like behavior. This is where AI is moving next. The future is not only about chatting with a model. The future is about AI systems that can use tools, follow steps, check their own work, and continue working through a task. GPT 5.5 is part of that direction. It is more useful for workflows where the model needs to plan, use information, revise its answer, and help complete the task. For example, imagine you are building a small business. You can ask GPT 5.5 to help with the idea, then the landing page, then the offer, then the customer message, then the content plan, then the technical structure. This starts to feel less like a chatbot and more like a digital teammate. Not perfect, not fully independent, but much closer to a real AI assistant for work. Now let's talk about GPT 5.5 Instant. GPT 5.5 Instant is designed to be faster and more useful for everyday work. This is the kind of model most users will interact with often. It is meant for quick help, learning, writing, technical explanations, translations, and practical everyday tasks. The important improvement here is reliability. OpenAI says GPT 5.5 Instant is more accurate and produces fewer hallucinated claims compared to previous versions in internal evaluations. And this matters a lot, because one of the biggest problems with AI is not that it cannot write beautifully. The problem is that it can sound confident even when it is wrong. So if the model becomes more accurate and better at avoiding false claims, that makes it more useful for serious work. But still, you should verify important information, especially in areas like health, law, finance, security, and business decisions. AI can help you move faster, but it should not be your only source of truth for high-stakes decisions. Now, who is GPT 5.5 useful for? First, developers. If you code, GPT-5.5 can help you debug, understand errors, refactor code, write tests, explain architecture, and build prototypes faster. Second, entrepreneurs. If you run a business, it can help you create strategies, offers, emails, landing pages, product ideas, sales scripts, customer analysis, and automation plans. Third, creators. If you make YouTube videos, TikToks, courses, newsletters, or social media content, GPT-5.5 can help with research, scripts, hooks, titles, thumbnails ideas, and content structure. Fourth, marketers. It can help with campaigns, positioning, audience research, ad angles, competitor analysis, and messaging. Fifth, students and professionals. It can explain complex topics, organize notes, create study plans, summarize material, and help with writing and analysis. But here is the most important part. GPT-5.5 does not remove the need for human judgment. In fact, it makes human judgment even more important. Because when AI becomes more powerful, the user's role changes. You are no longer just asking random questions. You become the director of the task. You need to know what you want, how to explain the goal, how to check the result, and how to decide what is good enough. The people who benefit the most from GPT-5.5 will not be the people who only ask simple prompts. The biggest winners will be the people who can think clearly, set good tasks, review the output, and combine AI with real-world knowledge. So my final conclusion is this. GPT-5.5 is not just a better chatbot. It is a step toward AI as a real work partner. It can help with coding, research, analysis, documents, business tasks, content creation, and automation. It can save time, it can improve thinking, it can help one person do the work that used to require several tools or even several people. But it is not magic. You still need taste, judgment, experience, and critical thinking. AI will not replace everyone, but people who know how to use AI properly will move much faster than people who ignore it. And that is why GPT-5.5 matters. It is not just about a smarter model, it is about a new way of working.